I will introduce myself. Hi, my name is Mike Robinson, and I'm the program director of the Animation and Media Arts program here at Hong Kong Baptist U. I will start with, I want to start with a introduction. Apologies first for confusion. Usually I get introduced by somebody from admissions, but that's okay. I want to start with just showing you guys, if anybody's there, a little reel of all the work from the last 2 years. So these are honors projects. Actually, there's a short clip of somebody that was from 3 years ago, but pretty much for the most part, this is either people that are just about to graduate our program or graduated from our program last year. And I think this gives you a good idea of what our students can produce. It's a very eclectic range of animation, 2D animation, 3D animation, games, motion graphics. And as you can see from, there won't be time to really get into what the stories are about, but I think you can see the topics of the stories are very, very wide ranging as well. So let me share this with you. Let me get going here. All right, so let me just share my screen, and this will be like about 1 minute. And I should also add the music, even though we're not a music school, the music was also done by HKBU student who took a lot of elective. He took a few classes in our program. He really likes animation, and he decided to compose scores for several of the honors project students. So everything you're about to see, I edited it together, but it's all student work, 100%, and almost all of it is from within the last 2 years. Okay, so let me share my screen here, and let's get the reel. Oops, okay, and can everybody see this? Oops. All right, I'm going to start. I'm going to stop my sharing, and I'm going to share again. And I will share a computer screen. All right, so if everybody's ready, let's begin. Everybody see that? I hope so. All right, so that kind of gives you an idea of what our students are capable of and what they do and what kind of projects you guys could make at the end of your 4 years here at HKBU. Let me just share some slides about the program just to give you an overview. This will be more basic information. Let me see if I can, hopefully everybody can see that. All right, so again, this is our, it's a Bachelor of Communication, and it is the film major, and you will have an Animation and Media Arts concentration. So again, we have a comprehensive curriculum, Animation, Media Arts. We do focus on digital animation, and we have foundation classes in storytelling, visual arts, and creative thinking, and then we have advanced classes in digital animation. So you can decide what you want to specialize in, whether it's interactive media, game design, graphic design, 2D and 3D animation, as you've seen, and we've got a wide range of advanced level courses. We adopt program-based admission. All eligible JUPAS applications, you can submit it through this website. There is a non-JUPAS option, but that's not really for the people attending this virtual consultation meeting. So I'll skip past that, but it's there if you have friends. Again, how do we work the interview? So basically, you come in for an interview in an individual group format. So basically, there are usually 3 to 4 of you, and you get about a half an hour, roughly about a half an hour for 4 people. So it's about 10 minutes per person. And even though you interview together, we sort of have people each go through their portfolios. We would like you to present your portfolio during the interview. I'm happy to answer more detailed questions about that, but that is the sort of structure. Again, this typically happens, we don't have an exact date about the JUPAS interview, but it's usually the 3rd to 4th of August after the HKDSE results. So that's been changed. A lot of times it's usually the 3rd week in July, but maybe this year it's 3rd to 4th. And again, with the pandemic and everything, it's not been the normal time to have that result. But usually sometime in the summer, we will have interviews and shortly after the DSE results. These are the entrance requirements. So you can take a look at this. I'm sure this is available to you via our websites, or the admissions office has given you this information. Again, the 5 best programs, I'll just sort of take a note of these. And there we go. The interview process, we have the academic records are with our office. So the interview is usually to assess creativity and sort of take a look at your portfolio, so that can be a factor in the interview process. So these are the different electives you have for the application. These are some other entrance requirements. A good results, English language preferred. The medium of instruction here at HKBU is English. So there we go. We have a variety of scholarships available to students. Generally it's based on GPA and performance, but not always. And then there's some different restrictions, but there are a wide variety of ways to help out. You've got other awards. And so again, I just thought I'd keep that brief. And that is the end of my presentation. I really just wanted to be available to ask people questions, or I'm sorry, answer people who want to ask questions. So please let me know if you have some questions. I'd prefer to hear an actual voice as opposed to a text message. That would be great. And I'm not sure if somebody else that's on this could moderate the discussion, right? I see a chat box, so. Can I see the Q&A? I can't see the Q&A. Where should I find? Okay, there's a Q&A. Okay, no open questions. Okay. What have we to prepare for the portfolio? Okay, so do I just click the live button? Okay, so I'd like to answer this question. All right, I've not done this kind of Q&A thing in Zoom, so bear with me if I'm a little clunky in this. Can somebody speak to me about this? Do I need to press a button or just record me? Which company and what position do your graduates work in? Okay, so let me try. I'll just sort of answer them as I go. What do you do to prepare for the portfolio? Okay, so I can tell you a couple of things. All right, so the thing we're looking for in a portfolio, there are a lot of do's and a few don'ts. So what we look for in a portfolio really is somebody that shows passion and initiative in making a creative project. We don't expect people to have amazing 3D skills or amazing animation skills. We realize that most high schools do not teach animation or even creative art. And so what we look for is, again, schoolwork is good. If you've done something outside school and you've taught yourself how to make some projects, that really impresses us. So when I see people that have made their own projects and they're complete, even though they're rough and they may not have perfect animation, it tells me that they can see a project through to completion. So they're able to finish. Because a lot of times in animation, it's fun. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's a great field, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of creative work, and it's very challenging technically and aesthetically. And it's just a lot of making a lot of detailed stuff. It's not just like drawing one image. You have to draw many images and have them all work together. So we're generally looking at people that have like the ability to finish a creative project, and they have they indicate they have potential for talent, and they have a passion for it, so they can complete things. So so does that answer? So I hope that answers the question in general, what to prepare for. I'm seeing some related questions here. Okay, so may I ask, what kind of artwork do you prefer to see in the portfolio? And the answer to that question, which is related to how do I prepare the portfolio, is we don't have a preference of type of artwork. We're really looking for the quality of your approach and the quality of it. So we can kind of see from the way you take artwork if you would, if you have the sort of talent and the perseverance to do animation. So I hope that answers the question. There are a couple of things I could say you should avoid. One thing I want to stress is I want to see, we get a lot of people that for whatever reason are really interested in doing film and not animation. But for some reason, they want to get into the film school and they apply through animation. So if you are one of these people, that would be something I don't want to see, right? So if I see somebody that only does film work and they've never done animation, or they don't have a lot of drawing or traditional artwork, and all their work is film and like live action filmmaking, then I have to wonder if they're really interested in animation. So that might answer some people's questions. So please, if you can still be a person that's done a lot of film work and now you realize you want to do animation, but show us that you have done something animation related at least, because we want to make sure people that come here are not frustrated film majors. Animation a lot of times people that like film, they like being on a set, they like being with and around people, they like working with actors, and animators tend to be people that either sit in front of their computer or their drawing pad all day long doing details, right? And so it's a different personality. Some people like both, some people can do both, but if I see somebody that it seems like they've done just film work and their heart is that they wouldn't be happy at a desk, I wonder if they're going to be happy for 4 years in animation. So I hope that answers people's questions. It's kind of hard to answer Q&As when I'm getting a text message and I don't see any reaction, right? So again, which 3D modeling software will we learn in the courses? So I did that. So I've answered this. Let's see, I guess I can say I'm done with this answer. I'll jump to, may I ask what kind of artwork you prefer here? I think I answered that live and I'm done. I'm going to go to the next one. What 3D modeling software will we learn in the courses? We do prefer, I can't see, I'm just looking at question. All right, so all right, I'll continue with the 3D question. So to answer the 3D modeling software question, and there's some other questions on another channel, what we teach is Maya. So Maya is sort of the industry standard, and that's what we teach. People can try other programs, and personally, I prefer Cinema 4D, and we're getting some licenses, but it doesn't have full support for all the classes. So in the classroom, we are a Maya-based program, and that's the 3D modeling software we'd use. You're still welcome if you use Blender or you prefer Cinema 4D. There may be some support for that. In general, we try to teach 3D modeling as opposed to Maya modeling. So we don't see ourselves as a training program, but more education about 3D modeling workflows. And because the software may change. Maya may not be around in 10 years. and another program maybe in there. But the principles of 3D modeling are what we try and teach. So I hope that answers this question. I answered that. I'll say I'm done. Let's see. It looks like there are 2 streams of questions, and I only am answering one. So let me see this. All right. So I'm going to. They're asking about internship opportunities, and then we get, when do we have to hand in our portfolio? Okay. All right. So it's a couple of questions. So I'm going to answer this question live. Which company and what position do your graduates work in? So I don't have, I just had coffee with one of our recent alums, the woman that did the little mushroom animation in the reel. So she is freelancing. So some people are getting jobs at local companies. She is freelancing, and she's doing a variety of different projects. And she's doing something for the School of Chinese Medicine. She did a few projects for HKBU. I know some students have gotten jobs in different local studios with us. Let's see what else. So again, we do have students being employed. I don't have a list of what companies they've worked for, and we're trying to work on getting better contact with the alumni. What I will say is I could sort of tell you a story that might answer this, which is when last year we were very concerned with all the social unrest and the pandemic. We were tremendously concerned about students facing a very difficult economic environment. So we created, the university created a project, and we actually hired some recent graduates to work on an animation to promote a university initiative called BU Hub. And so they did a series of animations. And what was interesting was that the students said, hey, we're getting really busy. We need to wrap up this project, right? So we thought we were hiring them to help them out in a difficult environment. And it turns out that they'd been so busy with other projects, mostly freelance work, that they wanted to sort of wrap something up. So that gives you an idea of what's possible. We don't have a lot, unlike Los Angeles, or a lot of media, like New York or Los Angeles, or maybe even Beijing. We don't have media. Hong Kong is not quite the same media environment. So we don't have like a handful of movie studios like you would in LA, where people often go to. So I'd say that we do have students that are working at local marketing and animation and advertising firms, and they are working in their field. Some of them are doing their own freelance work. And I've been pleasantly surprised, even though last year was a very tough year for everybody to graduate into, our animation students are doing well. I had one student she actually took my motion graphics class. She's in the journalism department, and she works full time for the Wall Street Journal doing explainer videos. And so she's not exactly an AMA student, but she got a passion for animation. And so she's working full time. So if you're good, there are opportunities out there for people. Okay, let's see. So somebody asked about when do we hand in our portfolio, and I think there's somebody from admissions that can answer that specifically before our interview. I don't know exactly. That's generally handled it. So let me see this. Let me just go over to our other chat group, and let me look at the other stream of chats. I would love to have an actual person turn on their screen and ask me a question face to face. Let's see. How is our program different from other institutions? Right. Okay. Well, we're better. Okay. All right. I can't say. I don't honestly. I've been so busy running this department. I don't have a detailed comparison between our program and others. So my analysis might be a little bit superficial. I know that we are the only program in Hong Kong that has a 4-year university degree. So I know that OpenU has an excellent animation program. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, but it's a 2-year degree program, I believe. It's not a university BA degree. So that's one difference. PolyU, I believe, has a 2-year program. So there are other animation programs that are out there. I know a lot of these people, they're my colleagues. And I've met them in various contexts professionally, and I think they're all great people. But I think that's probably a difference, is that they're a 2-year program. City U, I've also met those guys. They are probably roughly equivalent, that they have a 4-year degree program. I'd say, generally speaking, City U has a more experimental approach. They tend to be, so that's sort of their general approach. So I'd say it's not so much they have different courses, but I think they have a little more experimental approach, whereas I think we're part of a film school, and we typically emphasize storytelling and communication, whereas I think City U is more, exploring and pushing the boundaries of media. They a little more fine arts approach. I mean, I know the guy Max Hotler, and he's like a very prominent experimental filmmaker. Very good, very good. So, but again, I don't want to advertise other people's programs, but just that's what I'd say is the difference. Again, I think it's what's more important than is that you get the right program for what you want. I'd much rather have you go to, if you think City U is a better program because you're more experimental and you feel our curriculum is going to be a little too traditional storytelling, then it's probably better for you to go to City U. I'd rather have you be happy there, and vice versa. Somebody at City U that really wants to do storytelling, you may find themselves frustrated with experimental media. Okay, let's see here. I have not created, okay, so I'm getting a lot of admission related questions. So we have an AR colleague that could answer that. I don't know if I should shout them out to the mysterious people that are there, or they can just answer them, right? So admission, just voice out. Okay, so there's a question about, I'm going to voice out a few admission related questions, and hopefully our AR colleagues can answer them. What is the mean admission score last year? The answer is 22.43, counted as 6 subjects. Let's see here. I'm not sure when we need to hand in our portfolio, so I'd let that be the admissions person maybe can answer that in the chat. Are all JUPAS required applicants required to submit the portfolio, or only shortlisted applicants being notified to submit the portfolio? I'd like AR to check with this, but I believe everybody that applies is required to submit a portfolio. Again, because when I get the interview list, I don't personally manage that. So essentially, we show up to campus to interview, and the AR team and our program secretaries already have sorted out everybody that's been qualified to interview. So I apologize not to be able to directly answer some of these questions, because it's really handled by another team. But anybody we interview face-to-face needs to submit a portfolio. Sometimes we get some people that don't have a portfolio, and it kind of is a tough position. You're really hoping on your GPA. And if people have a high, sort of a high score of the GPA, it might help if they don't have a portfolio, but it's really good to have a portfolio. I have not created any animations projects before. Do I need to create one for an interview? So this is somebody named Sonia. I'm going to answer this live. So Sonia is I have a name here. So Sonia answered this question. And what I'd say is, you don't. It would be a good idea though. So if you haven't created an animation project before, and you're interested in it, and you have a little bit of time, you could try spending the summer doing an animation. It's always great to see somebody that tried on their own time to make an animation. Even if it's rough, we're impressed with the fact that you are able to stick to it and do something. And that shows us that you are excited about animation, right? So I would say try one. If you don't have any animation portfolio, you don't think you'll have time to do that, then try and show some of your creative media arts. Have you made drawings? A lot of times people show their drawings, right? Or they show sculpture. I've seen sculpture exhibits and light shows. You can show film. I know I told people we get a little worried when we only see filmmakers, but if you've done film and then you do drawing, then I can see when you say I'm interested in animation, it makes sense that you've done a lot of drawing and you just didn't have a chance to do animation. But again, there's a lot of free software out there. You can get software, you can try something real quick. The simple fact that you do it definitely puts you at an advantage compared to a lot of the people we interview. I'd say a lot of people that we interview don't have any animation to show, good or bad. So just even if it's bad animation, right? And I know you're probably nervous about this, but even bad animation in a weird way is good because you're competing against no animation, if that makes sense. So people that have a rough animation they just put together, it shows me you're willing and interested in doing this. Okay, so I hope I've answered that question. Do I need to only include the works only in my portfolio or with descriptions of the work? Okay, all right, so this is Chunke Tony, right? But this is a great question, right? Let's see. I would have, generally speaking, when we get into the interviews, we have about 10 minutes per person, and a lot of that is introductions. So we only have about 1 or 2 minutes to look at your portfolio. And personally, I would just rather see the work. And a lot of times, so I would say don't worry too much about descriptions. Be able to explain it if we have a question, but usually the work speaks for themselves. We take a look at your drawings and we can very quickly see your drawing, your passion and interest and abilities in drawing. If you have a short animation, even if it's just a little GIF in a loop, we can see what you're trying to do. So essentially, I'd rather that, because we won't have time for you to explain the idea, the process, and sometimes students do that, and I actually have to cut them off. I feel a little bit bad because it's a little bit rude, but we just don't have time to hear about how you drew the sketch, the purpose of it, the story behind it. There's only a minute. I'd rather see your finished work and see how much you've done over the last 4 or maybe even 8 years of your primary and middle school years. Does that make sense? I hope so. I should probably, before I forget, I want to add one thing. If you're working on group projects, be careful that the other people in the group don't show that, because we have sometimes seen the same project and sometimes 2 different people might say that they both directed the same film. And so be careful that you don't show something another student might show us later in the day, and that you tell them you worked with them. So make sure if you have a group project and you're planning to show it, talk to your teammates about what you're going to say together. Maybe you both worked on it together, and then we hear, oh yeah, I worked with, Tony, I don't know, let's say you're working with somebody named Bob, and so we interview you, Tony, and we see you and Bob did a animation about hamsters and a cat, right? And so Tony would say, oh, I animated the hamster, and then Bob would say, I animated the cat, and we worked on the hamster and cat animation, and that's great. It's a little bit tricky if we interview you and you said, I animated everything, and the other person says, I animated everything. So just be a little bit careful about that. I'm not saying that's what you're going to do, but I have seen that happen. So I want to mention that as well. Hope that helps out. Let's see. Okay, there we go. At this point, I don't have any questions. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask a question or if I've answered what people have. I'll just wait. Not the most exciting video. I don't know if anybody from AR or admissions wants to jump in and explain things. What courses are related to 2D animation? Okay, so we do have an elective course. We're sort of working we're working on some new courses, but there's something called at present alternative animation. We don't have a dedicated 2D animation class. I'd say the closest, what are related could be related in a lot of ways. We do want to encourage people to do 2D animation, even though I think all you guys know that 3D is is the domination. Even 2D animation uses 3D animation tools, just so people know. So even if you're planning to do 2D animation, you will likely need to understand 3D technology. The courses that are related, drawing would be one because it relates to 2D animation. We have storyboarding and character design. So a lot of the fundamental classes will apply regardless of whether you do 2D or 3D. So we have fundamentals of media arts. We have character animation classes that will apply in performance animation, facial animation. Let's see. So a lot of the fundamental courses will help. I teach a class called visual expression, which is like composition for film. That will help you whether you do 2D or 3D, it will show up that way. Let's see, what else? Specifically to 2D animation, we have motion graphics classes. And then there's this course, we're looking at changing the name, and I've been revising, so I might get the exact course name wrong, but I think it's alternative animation. And so that's about, I think that the description is a little bit too broad, so that's why we're trying to change it. But again, this is for sort of non-traditional 2D animation, stop motion, stuff like that. So there are some courses that relate to that. I hope that answers your question. Let's see here, I'm getting to see. All right, please fill in the survey. There we go. Have you met, oh, this is an interesting question. Oh, let's see. Have you met any students that really pressed you in your career, in my career? Okay. So have I met, oh, can you really impress me? Can you guys follow this up with what do you mean by impressed me? How? I would say yes, but there are lots of ways the student can impress me. So sometimes I'm impressed by the fact that they persevered. So I've had a few students that this is probably not the answer you want, but essentially I've had students that had a very difficult personal situation and they managed to graduate. Far harder than I experienced when I was in school. And I'm just like, this is great. In fact, I would say all of the graduating class that you just saw that reel, I'm impressed because they had to deal with social unrest where the campus closed down. They had to deal with a pandemic. They had to deal with all sorts of problems that were extremely difficult in any situation. So I was sort of telling them that if you can handle these 2 years and get a college degree, you're probably prepared to handle almost any challenge life will throw at you. So I was impressed by everybody in my group that did it. If that answers the question. There are some people that just do amazing work, and it's just like it's fantastic. I have some students their drawing skills are phenomenal. A little bit frightening for me. I mean, they're approaching my level easily. So I have that. I've seen some students that just take a shine to character animation, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing stuff. Trying to think of other people that do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I would that would be my answer. If you want to follow up or add more details, I'd be happy to elaborate. Great. No more questions? There. All right. So guys, if there are no more questions, we can end this a little bit early. We'd like all the attendees to fill out the survey. It's in the chat box. Oh, okay. Somebody just added a question. How often do you often make project? Can you elaborate, please? I don't quite understand. Do you mean me personally? Do I make my own animations project? Are you talking about students? Could you just tell me more what you mean by make project, and then I can answer you better. I don't quite understand this question. Yes, my own animation. I have been too busy teaching and running this department to really, and also I have 2 young children. So I've been very busy, and no, I have not made my own project in a while. What I've done for my own project is the more recent projects I've done have been let's see, for documentaries, right? So I've done a documentary project, and I like working in documentaries because I get to work directly with the director. I get to talk about usually they want you to explain kind of an interesting idea, and they want to show a process. So I come more from a graphics background. I imagine I'm afraid to have people Google me, but anyway, if you look at me, I came to animation from graphic design. I was a designer at MTV, and I did web design. I got interested in animation. So I've done animation for documentaries, and that's kind of what I like doing. I want to sort of get into explainer videos, but I just really have not had the time. But that's sort of what I do, and I'd like to get back into doing those types of things. I'd also like to do like more illustration work as well. So I don't know if that helps. You know, one of our new professors is constantly doing, I'm really surprised because he just moved to Hong Kong, which is a huge undertaking to move abroad. And he's already doing gallery exhibits and so on and so forth. So I hope that answers your question, but I would like to do more documentaries. It's funny because the documentary producer I work with quite a bit, she approached me right before I became program director. And I knew this was the year when the social unrest was brewing, and I was about to start being a program director right at that moment. And I turned down the project, and I knew it would be I wouldn't have time to commit to it properly because there'd be so much going on. And it turned out to be true, but that project wound up winning an Emmy award, so I'm kind of frustrated. I turned it down. So I don't know. That's a long answer, but that's sort of what I do, and I hope to get back to it and have more projects to go to next year. Maybe I'll answer this question. I'll say, yeah, I did a few things lately. All right. So I think I've answered that. All right, I have another question here. May I ask what kind of drawing is preferred for the interview? And so what I would say is we don't have a preference. I mean, generally it's more the quality and the skill level. I will have to say anime can be done well, but if you're doing anime, I think you might have to push a little bit harder to show us that you have drawing skills and you're not sort of like one of these people who just doodles anime because you're bored in math class or whatever it is. A lot of times anime drawings can be very simple, and it's very, to me, you know, almost every high school student loves anime and draws anime a little bit here and there. So I'm not saying, when I say this, people say, oh, don't do anime. I'm not saying that. If your anime drawings are like a Miyazaki movie or just really professional and really interesting looking, definitely include it. But make sure, you know, you have something original or something that looks like you and not sort of following step-by-step tutorial on or imitating a TV show for anime. It'd be great to sort of see some originality in there and some quality. So I hope that answers the question. I'm not saying don't do anime. I'm just saying be careful that your anime shows professionalism or shows you have the potential to be an animator, and not like probably a lot of your friends that just draw anime but aren't very serious about art, if that makes sense. So I hope that answers the question. Let's see. Are any graduates got an offer to Pixar Disney Animation Studio? I don't believe so. I don't know if that's the only calculus there, because there are thousands of animation schools across the world, and there's only 2 Pixar Disney. We do have a fellow. All right, so we've got about 2 minutes left, I'm being told. We do have Max Howard, who is a former Disney executive, He did a fellowship and he's coming this year for a fellowship. Max Howard was working on The Lion King. He was the president of Warner Brothers Animation for a while. He's a great guy, very helpful for students. And he was a Disney executive. So there is a connection to Disney. Is that going to turn into a job for you? I don't know. I know that Disney and Pixar are highly competitive, and you're probably competing with about at least 10,000 other students. So, so that's what I'd say. But I would say our graduates are definitely getting work in the field, and Disney and Pixar are only one part of a very big animation environment. Okay, let's see. I think this will be the last question, unless I get one more. This will be my last question. I have time for two more questions, and I'm going to answer one of them. What is the potential or personality that an animator should have? Okay. This is all right. I could get into stereotypes here. I don't know about personality, right? I could definitely say that a lot of animators tend to be shy. I'm not a terribly shy person, but a lot of animators tend to be that shy kid that draws a lot, or the computer guy that's there. Some animators are very different. They have all sorts of different personalities. What I would say though is, and I was talking about this earlier, you may have heard this, that somebody who has patience and is willing to see through a long, laborious process, if that makes sense. You are going to be, for drawing, if you're interested in 2D animation, this is me drawing, you need to draw lots and lots and lots of drawings. And it's no different on the computer. If you like computer graphics, you need to be willing to spend hours upon hours in front of the computer getting a pinky to move at the right thing. And that's just one bone in a finger that's going like this. So if you want to do this animation, time is up, I'm being told. Are you ready to animate this finger, this finger, this finger, this finger, this finger, frame by frame? Because it'll take you a long time. And so to me, that would be, that's what makes an animator different from perhaps an illustrator, where they could spend an afternoon doing a painting and they're finished. Whereas an animator has to have a lot of patience for detail. So I think that is the last question, all we have time for. It was nice to answer your questions. I would have rather done it face to face, but I hope I answered everybody's questions. And I guess I will talk to everybody later. Okay, hope to see you in our interviews this summer, and see you next year.